Welcome to the American Valor Podcast. Today, we are thrilled to welcome Vice Admiral DeWolf H. Chip Miller to the show. Vice Admiral Miller retired as the Commander, Naval Air Forces, which is Type Commander for all United States Navy aviation units, and dual-hatted as Commander, Naval Air Forces Pacific. Vice Admiral, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about you that the world may not know.
Well, there's probably a lot they don't know, hopefully. But Enrique, thanks for having me, and just honored to be here. Really happy to be here, and especially, uh, want to thank you for what you do to get the message of what the Bob Feller Act of Valor does, what it stands for, what he stood for, and what we try to emulate, right? And so, I mean, really, really important to not lose that history and that heritage. And so, to be a part of this is a lot of fun. So, for me, long time Navy, 39 years serving in the Navy. But how I got there, I was born in Annapolis, Maryland, and home of the Naval Academy. I didn't grow up there, but all our relatives were there, and so I was 8 years old, and my parents took me to a Blue Angel show at the Naval Academy. So I'm one of those kids that was 8 years old watching these airplanes fly in the sky, saying, "I want to do that." And and so my dad said, "Well, okay, then go to school here, and that'll get you there." So at 8 years old, I was just laser focused. This is what I want to do, and that's where I want to go to school. So I count myself, just very fortunate in that I had a dream at 8 years old, and I got to live my dream. And so for 39 years, I was, living my dream. So I retired 5 years ago. I failed retirement. I went and got a job, but I, tried to continue to serve, albeit in the civilian sector, working for a defense contractor that provides aircraft carriers and submarines to our sailors. So that's me in a nutshell. A long, time in the Navy, but it was every single day was just an honor to be able to serve.
And what a beautiful testament to fixing your eyes on a goal, right?
Yeah,
8 years old.
absolutely.
My goodness.
Yeah.
That's a long time between the time you went to the academy, but
Yeah.
so important for the listener to understand that goal setting is one of the things that we encourage because they do set a mark out in the future for us to be able to navigate our day-to-day life and get there. And you was able to fulfill that for 39 years. So what a
Yeah.
blessing.
Yeah. No, no, yeah, it's so important. And then, not just, easy hurdles, but stretch goals too, right? Here's what I want to do to better myself or to be able to, help others or whatever that may be. Um, Key to that, to have, something that you're working towards always.
Absolutely.
Great.
Now, folks, at the Bob Feller Active Valor Foundation, we strive to educate, support, and recognize by instilling the timeless values of service, sacrifice, legacy, and citizenship. And based on the pillars mentioned, Admiral, I would like to start today's conversation with service. Your naval career embodies a lifetime of service to our nation. In today's world, how can civilians and leaders in any field embrace the spirit of service in their daily lives or organizations?
Great question. What jumps into mind? So I had the fortune of getting to know President George H.W. Bush, being the CEO of the USS George H.W. Bush, and also the Bush Strike Group, and that afforded the opportunity to get to know the family. And there's a quote that he's attributed to him about service. It said there can be no definition of successful life that does not include service to others. So it's one thing. So in answering your question, I reflect back on my military service, but there's service goes beyond just military service, right? I mean, first responders, service, towards others, the way President Bush put it, can be manifested in many ways. So, you know, I agree with his quote that, it's so fulfilling, so rewarding when you are, when you're doing service type things. Doesn't mean your profession has to be in service, but you as a, uh, you know, to donate your time, talents, and treasures towards some sort of, service towards others is an honorable thing. And boy, nothing more rewarding than when you do that. Interesting, I'd bring somebody with me, whether it was a ship would pull into a port, and we'd always do some sort of community outreach in whatever country we were at. And you'd bring, maybe folks that hadn't previously done that with you on those types of activities. And then they couldn't get enough of it. And they're bringing their friends because it is so rewarding to be able to do that. And then to have a profession that was based on service and service to our country. That was again, that's what made every day. People say, "Hey, how do you go for 39 years? That's an awful long time." And I say, well, three main things. One, it's meaningful work. Two, you can make a difference. And then three, it's rewarding. And that's what service across the spectrum does. Meaningful, you can make a difference, and it's rewarding.
And that is so profound. And I love that quote. I was awarded actually in 2013 his 1,000 Points of Light Award for my community service while in
Awesome.
service.
I was going to talk about that later anyhow, because, he not only his whole life was a life of service, leading by example, everything else, but that organization, 1,000 Points of Light, was just that. It's, and that started from his inaugural address in 1989, where he talked about, let's everybody be a point of light in your community and go out and serve. And the fact that you were awarded that, that's very prestigious. Congratulations to you. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. It was my honor. And just following, I joined in 89. So
Yeah.
you get to hear that message, never thinking that you would be part of that. Just
Yeah.
having that humility to serve and serve without trying to get a reward, right?
Yeah.
And so a service sometimes requires sacrifice. And I know that our naval service required sometimes a sacrifice, although we were living our dreams and enjoying it. There were some sacrifices made, and every act of service comes with sacrifice. In your experience, how do great leaders prepare themselves and their teams to face moments when sacrifice is required?
Yeah. Well, you used the right word, which is prepare, and that's it. You prepare for it. For me, and you and your service, we raised our right hand and swore to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. We knew what we were getting into, and we knew the sacrifices that it, would, that go along with that. When I think of service, at least us in the military and our sacrifice, I think of the families. Our spouses, our kids. They came along because they're related to you. And I just think, of our spouse, military spouse, and families, and the sacrifice that they go through, and so how do you prepare them? And a lot of it comes through, uh, you know, we did pre-deployment, briefs that would bring in all, education on all the support that's available to family members while they're, service members deployed. For me, I did 11 deployments, so we got real good at that preparation. As kids were younger, all the way through, through college, in my respect. But a lot of it comes down to preparation. I also think that it's not just the military preparation. I always thought of family as that. We had three families. We had our military family, we had our church family, and then of course we had our relative, our blood family, and all of them were those three families. It always rallied around my family in times of that I was away, and so I applied that and tried to apply that through every single family member on board, whatever command we were at, and so that's making sure that they felt that the unit, the command was a family for them, and one that would surround them with whatever it is they need. And then as you deploy, when you have the confidence that your loved ones back home are being taken care of, you can focus better on what it is you have at hand today. The last thing that a commander would want is somebody distracted on the job. Much of our military jobs are dangerous, or take focus, and you're distracted because you're worried about how things are going back home. So from a leader's perspective, it's making sure that those people are taken care of, and that that any issue they have, you're going to listen to, and they can bring it to you, and have the confidence that you're going to, do everything in your power to be able to address it. So it
That
comes down to preparation.
Yeah, very true. As you were speaking, I was reflecting on my times when I had to deploy or go abroad. Those were the key elements in ensuring that my family was able to get through those periods unscathed, maybe with a little heartache, right? Because there's
Hmm.
always that. You miss this, that, and then the other. But that support system and that structure of that three pronged, right? That's what we call triad, in the
Yeah,
military at the top three, but also triad with the families to get them through those times. Now, we fondly reflected on President Bush, the impact he had on our lives in
yeah,
one way or another. So let's talk about legacy. Now, legacy is something that many leaders only think about toward the end of their careers. How can an emerging leader begin building a meaningful legacy now, one that aligns with their values and positively impacts others?
yeah. That's a really good question, and I'm going to get to it. I think through again, just starting with um, philosophy. Meaning, here's where I'm getting at. When I graduated from the Naval Academy in 1981, I never thought 40 years later I'm still going to be in the Navy, or B, that I'm going to be, at the position that I was in. And so you're right, you don't think about legacy till the end, but you develop one. And it comes down to, and you brought it up, the values, the culture, the type of person you are. That's what people remember. And that's how you build that legacy. What is it that you did that was, over time, that define who you are? And I think a lot of that, our values are kind of inculcated into us. At least for me, it was parents, teachers, coaches, things like that. That work hard, play hard. That's those sort of values that ground you throughout the rest of your life. When I give advice to emerging leaders, to you know younger junior officers or sailors, and if they're thinking about the next job, or how do I attain, not goals, but more like, I would really want to get to this rank, or do this. It's okay. What are the things that you are doing today? Excelling in what it is you're doing today. And when you do that every day, pursuit of, you know, uh, being the best that you can be every single day, and you do that over time, guess what? Now you're the Iron Man, right? You're somebody that has, and then you look back, and A, time goes really, really fast. And B, all of a sudden, you're starting to, as when you depart that commander, when you depart that job, or when you get to the next promotion, or whatever it is, you are making a notch in that legacy. And over time, how is it that you want to be remembered? And I don't think there's anything more profound than somebody saying, yeah, he or she, they're good people, and they made a difference. And so what are those things that it comes down to your values, and sticking to it, and living that example every day. Maybe a cheesy answer to legacy, but I think I wouldn't focus on legacy. I would focus on who you are, and how you want to be known to others, and what are the things that motivate you, that inspire others, or help others grow, or back to the service piece, endear yourself to doing good in the community, or in your sphere of influence.
Absolutely. I was reflecting on how important your words today, your actions today, and how they reflect on the parchment of paper that people read tomorrow, right? Because
Yeah,
that's what we
yeah,
always end up. A life lived, life passes, but then people get to read or reflect on the impact you had on them. And that's what fuels the next generation. So, yeah, very true, Admiral. It really is and boils down to those values and what you stick to. So, thank you for that. Now, citizens. We're all
yeah.
citizens, whether we're serving currently active or we depart and go separate ways or we retire, we will always remain citizens. And talking about citizenship, how can veterans and military leaders continue to serve as citizens after they transition out of the military?
Yeah. So I think citizenship and our growing up in military, your question was about military, the transition. Our whole time in the military, whether it was, 4 years or 40 years, was um, rooted on service. It's mission above self, it's others above yourself, it's selfless service. And that transitions well to jobs outside of the military, and it also transitions well to having a desire to be a citizen who can make a difference. For me, we had 21 moves in 39 and a half years. I never lived anywhere longer than 4 years. I've retired 5 years ago, and I'm now in my community, back in my hometown. This is the longest we've lived ever in a house, and it's been really enjoyable to become not Admiral Miller, but Mr. Miller in within the community. And I found myself gravitating towards the veterans organizations. But to answer your question, is gravitating to anywhere where you can, lend a hand, because your mindset as a military person transitioning is going to fit well in any citizen, organization that's trying to be a volunteer or a mentor or, um, um, whether it's through the church or whether it's through veterans organizations, it all fits and you can help make a difference. And it'll be so rewarding when you do. What the big thing I'd say is, advice to your question is, don't spend all your time looking in the rearview mirror, of saying, here's what I did. Again, back to that, okay, now how am I going to apply what I have learned and what I have lived over the time that I served in the military, towards my community? And when you do, you'll be thankful that you did. It'll be that you will be one of those 1,000 points of light that President Bush talked about. That's so rewarding and makes a difference in our communities and lets people know who you are. And the not to dribble on too long, but that's part of why the Bob Feller Active Valor Foundation is, we looked at the life of Bob Feller, and it exemplified all the pillars that you just talked about, and it's an example for us, right? And it's example to successful living that leaves a legacy, and it's not um, uh, something that's special only to a certain class of individual. It's available for anybody to go out there and get after and model yourself after. And so that's why it's so neat to be a part of this organization, because I feel that, at least for me, I'm being that citizen by being here in front of you right now and trying to be a part of this, an active part of the Bob Feller Active Valor Foundation.
Absolutely. You've definitely fulfilled all four pillars today, Admiral, and I appreciate that. And so, those that are listening that may have not caught the full 39 years of your service and have seen you during active duty and just know you as Mr. Miller, where can our audience learn more about you and or how to support your efforts now?
No, I think it's doing what we just talked about. If you're not involved in a community activity, if you are looking for something that would be pretty rewarding and pretty fulfilling, you know, reach out to us. We'll help you in your community, or go reach out to, do that web search that within your community of just volunteer service, and you can always start with the USO, or you can always start, with any organization like that that's a service organization to be able to make a difference. As far as me, you know it's not about me. It's about setting others up for success. And so if you can make a difference in somebody else's life, that's a worthwhile thing to do. And I would just encourage people to take that first step, and then I think it'll take care of itself after that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Admiral, for spending this time with me and sharing your thoughts around our four pillars. Folks, for more information on the foundation, please visit at our website, activevaloraward.org. And on behalf of the Bob Feller Active Valor Foundation, thank you all for joining us on this episode.